like a paper toy. Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, no, no, no. When they smile at you, darling, and wink, it's a lethal force that'll bring you down. Trying to get you tipsy like a drink. Love drunk girls all over town.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Rumbi.
Welcome to
It's Layered. We're in a long-distance friendship that started 20 years ago when we were in high school.
We'll be talking all things life, love, family, anything and everything else under the sun.
Delve deeper with us, because in life, you know, Gine, my layers.
Layers. Upon
layers on layers and layers. You know, we've come to our season finale. Can you believe it, Amanda? Can you?
It's insane.
It's crazy.
Our second season, insane.
Season, wild. But it's been such an amazing ride. For this episode, you know, we really wanted to touch on a subject that a lot of us know, but we don't really go into, which is basically the taboo of certain professions within a Zimbabwean context. Debunking the perceptions, navigating those perceptions. I think we've all wanted to do something or try something that was, you know, maybe not seen as the way to go. People laugh. It's like you're going to be a lawyer, doctor, business person, accountant, and that's about it. So kind of talking about these fields, and we are centering it around the film industry. But on a personal level, I know there's things I wanted to do, study at university or pursue, that were kind of like breaks on that, because like what is that? Like what is that? You know?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
What do you mean exactly? I don't know if you've ever felt that way, Amanda, or ever had that experience. But
for sure. I don't think any African child, in fact, I shouldn't even say African, because I know a lot of my Asian friends.
Yes.
Any kid from a third world country was always told you got to be a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant. Yeah. Don't even, engineer might slide in there once in a while. Yes. And that's it. Like, don't go for anything else. So I feel you.
Yeah, for sure. So I know how it feels. And it's like, the funny thing is, especially coming out, we're sort of kind of not really coming out of COVID. It's like the creative industry sustained us so much during the pandemic. We live content, you know, and people's careers, you know, flourish, especially social media creators, TikToks and all that. They really flourished during this time. So, you know, it's kind of like, okay, if people can do it, we watch all these movies and it's like, well, we support and they are successful. But how does that happen within an African and more specifically a Zimbabwean context? So we decided to have a conversation today with an alumni from high school, Munya Chidzonga, and talk about this and talk about navigating these taboo professions and what the film industry in Zimbabwe needs. Because if we want to see ourselves more on the big screen, I tell you, we're going to need to support ourselves more. And
we need to back ourselves up,
and how we need to follow the call, follow the passion, follow the purpose, as well as, you know, how to make it realistically, how does that happen? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So definitely join us for this very candid, insightful chat.
Yes. Enjoy. So today we're so grateful to have Munya Chidzonga. He's an alumni from high school and also a thespian in his own right. He's a NAMA award-winning actor. He's been featured in films such as Little Bola and The Gentleman. And some of you may know him. He was on Big Brother Africa twice and really made a name for himself through that too. He's also an entrepreneur and a businessman. And we're just so glad to have him. Munya, how are you today?
I'm solid, ladies. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence.
No, thanks so much for having me. I hope everyone's got their mask handy. I've got mine like right here. But, I was just outside, so
yeah.
Excuse the apparel.
No,
that's okay. Good. These are strange times. It's all good.
I mean, look, I even have a guitar. I don't know why, but it's there.
Inspiration. We love it.
We're deep.
No, it's great. It's great. So glad to have you here. But Munya, obviously that was just a very brief intro into yourself, your work. Please feel free to share with us about your journey into acting, into the creative field and what you do, how it all began. Maybe we can start there.
Wow. So look, I think my acting, my journey started on stage. I think when I was about 6 years old. That was my first performance. And I played one of the lead roles, like when I was like, 6. I don't know if you remember, if you know the play, The Princess and the Pea. I was
yes.
I was a king. So I had a lot of stage time, not a lot of lines, but and from there I just kept gravitating towards performance. And then when I was 15, at high school, I did a pantomime called Alibaba and the 40 Thieves or something like that. And it wasn't until then that I remember one of my teachers came up to me afterwards and he was like, "No, Munya, you should actually consider doing this seriously." And I was like, "Well, I never thought of it up until then." And then I produced my first play actually in high school. And then from there, the rest is history. I finished school and I was looking for what to do. And I was actually going to go and do marketing and business administration. And then my old man was like, "Look, what would you happily do for free? What would you happily do for free right now? Go and do
Wise
that."
words.
Shout out to Papa Chidzonga.
Shout out to the Bali, bro. And he was like, "Why don't you do that and go figure out a way to get paid to do it?" And then I ended up at film school, and then, till now.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's really brilliant, especially how your parents were supportive, it seems, because in a lot of scenarios, especially in Zimbabwean context, a lot of parents would be very discouraging about acting. Was that ever a case for you? Like you said, your dad was supportive. Was your whole family and your friends, were they also equally supportive?
I think, you see, it's unfortunate that my parents decided very young, before they had us, that the way that they were going to raise us, and they wanted us to express ourselves and that sort of thing. And I think in a perfect world, my uncle, who's a professor of medicine, he was the dean of medicine at the UZ, he would have been a filmmaker and a brilliant one. I think my dad would have made like a brilliant film agent. My mom would have been a brilliant actress in a perfect world. And she actually, my mom used to love acting, and it was unfortunate that she's the oldest. And she went and she spoke to her dad, and her dad was like, "No, there's no way that's gonna happen." She used to be a model and everything. So I think they were very supportive. There was a feeling of, because it was something new, there was something novel about it. But also a lot of people had seen me perform. Those who knew who I was had seen me on stage. So it wasn't a very foreign concept, you know what I mean? And then once they saw me on Big Brother, it started to make sense. And then they saw the films and they're like, "Oh, okay, we get it now. Now it makes sense." There's still some who are like, "Okay, when are you going to get a real job?" I'll never forget that conversation with my uncle, my sekuru. He was like, "No, Munya, when are you going to get a real job?"
Yeah. And those
especially when you're a father and you're in a marriage, I'm sure a lot of those conversations would be happening.
For sure.
Yeah, look, I think that has definitely it's had a big impact on my art. And even the way I express myself, the projects that I look for. Before you have a family, and before I got married, I used to shoot from the hip. I was fearless. I had nothing to lose. I would take opportunities. I'd always be on stage. I'd always be expressing. And then when my first son was born, a lot of that changed. I now had more to lose. Now it's like, okay, because I remember, I'll never forget this. My second born watched, no, sorry, it was the firstborn. He watched this film, and at the end of the film, I die. Well, the character dies. And the guy was screaming. He threw a fit. And unfortunately, at the time when he watched it, I was on set somewhere. I was out of the country. So the guy calls me and he's sobbing, he's crying. My wife is like, I can't control him. He's like, no, it's like, they killed my dad. And I'm like, no, my God. Like, I was like, no, my guy, I'm here. I'm good. I'm okay.
That's how convincing you were.
That's how exactly.
So the guy was like, no, these guys killed my dad. It's going to be fire and brimstone.
No. But I think you've touched on a really real thing for us as Zimbabweans, and I think as people, I think a lot of Africans, to be fair, can relate to it, is around the perceptions and stereotypes of following unconventional paths or industries. It's not necessarily easy. And how do you think you've managed to stay the course, even though there are those, people always, and this is the other thing, I don't know, for our listeners who are not Zimbabwean, in Zimbabwe, it's not your parents only who have a say on how you live your life. It's community. If you think of Ubuntu, it's the community, it's your aunts, uncles, grandparents, friends of your parents, like anybody can feel that they have something to say about how you live your life or the life you choose to live. How did you navigate that and stay the course, even in light of those perceptions?
Look, I think, credit where it's due. I'm fortunate that I've got a very, very strong support base in my family. And I think I'm still navigating it. It's not something that ever ends, because, I think what's the hardest thing is the perception. And for a long time, I didn't realize it. I didn't realize that when you're an artist, you get put into a certain category, into a certain box. And it's not just in Africa.
Yeah.
It's around the world. There's this idea or perception of actors, rock stars, and, all the above. And it honestly didn't occur to me until now. And, now I'm a lot more sensitive to it, when, you're trying to mingle with more people. But, what I've discovered is that, at some point, you just have to be who you are. And you have to be who you are, and then let the world decide after that. You know what I'm saying? And the world is. I think it's more than what you actually do. I think there's something psychological about it. Human beings like to put people in boxes so that they can understand them.
Yes.
And they then know how to relate to them. So it's it's bigger than just, Africans and tradition. And also the fact that, art is associated with poverty in our country, where, artists here are, I don't know why, but, generally, maybe I actually, my own personal theory is that I think it's because so many people in Africa are talented, and so many Black people, and, not to put it into,
it's okay, it's fine, it's okay.
But
we support.
It's you know what I mean? It's a fact that everyone can sing. You know what I mean? Like, most people
what makes you special?
Can sing. What makes you so special? And okay, well, most people of color are athletic. So what makes you so special? And also the money, numbers don't lie. Once you can put figures to something, people respect it. If you've got money, people respect you.
This is true.
Yeah. So how do you think we can work around that as a community? Like, is there any ways or avenues you can see where that could be better? Because surely it sounds a bit stifling, to put people in such a box. And if you didn't have a good support base, as you said, who knows, how your acting career could have gone. Is there any way you can see us working around that?
I think we just have to create. I mean, to anybody out there who's watching and listening, just create. Just content is king, one. And two, I really think as artists, we need to sit down and realize that it takes more than one lion to form Voltron. You know what I mean? We We need bank managers. We need lawyers. We need, you know what I mean? We need doctors. We need the whole value chain so that we can add more value to our art. And the minute we can realize that, you know, sometimes you need to let go of, you know, because I think the most valuable lesson I learned about creating something is that it's actually not yours. It was never yours. You're just a vessel. You're just the one who happens to. You're just the one who
you're
happens
dropping
to.
bars.
All of the bum, bum, bum. Just like, yeah,
we're trying to take it in, but we're like, here's my boof.
Another
Mine
one.
is exploding.
DJ Khaled voice.
I need a moment. Like, I need a moment. Seriously.
I
couldn't just nod.
Yeah,
I couldn't just nod that one away. I had to.
Yeah.
We had to react to that.
You are the vessel. Whew.
You're just a vessel. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the universe. It belongs to God if you believe in God. And you know what I mean? It's none of it is yours. So because we're just a vessel for this creativity and this process, we need to come to a stage where we're able to share ideas openly and willingly, you know, with other people. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I really think we need to start engaging, you know, people from other professions to help us out, to teach us how to make, you know, more of our art. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah.
I think for me, then the question becomes on a practical level, you know, because I think, you know, they say, are people lack because of knowledge? I don't know. There's a very good
People
perish
people
because
perish
of lack of knowledge. Yes, thank you, sir. I knew someone would come through clutch on that.
I'm just like,
how do we, you know, on a practical level as Zimbabweans, you know, because I feel like our industry has a lot of potential and growth, and we need to learn more and understand it better as people. How do you even step into the field of acting or being an artist, specifically acting, because you have experience in that way? You know, could you share how you do things like auditions or find out about projects, or you spoke about agents? Like, how do you even navigate that? Because what is that? Like, I just thought I like to perform and that's it. You know what I mean? So how do we?
I think, no, that's a good question. I think first and foremost, I'll say respect the craft. The first thing you have to do is respect the craft. You have to respect the fact that it's a craft and people have been doing this for over 100 years now. Well, for film, you know, but you know, much longer than that for things like stage. So I think the first thing is to, you know, to show an interest, and then to read up and learn as much as possible about the actual craft, learn from people who've come before you, that sort of thing. And the other thing is, look, we live in a very exciting time. You know, we live in a world where you can learn anything, and anything is just a click away. You know what I mean? I encourage people to do as much research as possible. YouTube, it can teach you how to go into auditions and all that sort of thing. Instagram, I know there's a lot of pages of guys who advertise auditions. Facebook, same thing. And to be honest with you, I think the key ingredient is something that we're starting to lose slightly, and that is the fact that you just have to experiment. You just have to go and try and do it. If you hear about an audition, go and audition.
Yes.
You know, you don't know whether that could be the difference between, you know, sometimes obviously you will have some torrid experiences. I mean, I can tell you so many stories of you know, auditioning in Joburg, and I ended up on the wrong side of the tracks, and I had no phone, no battery, and you know, I couldn't get home, and I had to walk, and you know what I mean. But you have to go through that to then decide to know that, okay, if an audition doesn't have these ingredients and they're not legitimate and they're not worth my time, but you can only do that by, you know, by doing it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
What's your take of the movie or film industry in Zimbabwe currently?
I think there's so much potential. It's scary.
Wow.
And there's a lot of guys who are making big waves. I think what we need to upskill ourselves. We need to start taking ourselves a lot more seriously, and we need to actually start competing because right now everyone's competing with themselves locally, but we need to start competing with international filmmakers, regional, etc. And we need to realize that there's a sacrifice that comes with it. You know, greatness costs what it costs. You know, if Netflix says that, look, we want you guys to record using Dolby Digital, and this is how much Dolby Suite costs, that's how much it costs. You know what I mean? Because what a lot of people don't realize is that, you know, before you can even have a conversation with Netflix, your film has to be shot in a specific way, in a specific format. That's not cheap. You know what I mean? In fact, what often happens is the budget that most filmmakers in Zimbabwe put on making an entire film is the amount of money that you have to put in just for the sound, so that it sounds the right way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, look, there's so much potential. And I think it's a very exciting time. You know, there's now private television stations. So I'm interested to see how that will affect the landscape. I think it can only get better.
Yes.
And I think it can only be positive, because the more content people create, the better we get at it. You know what I mean? And the better we get at it, the closer we are to Oscars. You know what I mean?
Exactly. We feel that. We literally are big supporters of that. And content is king. I mean, that's the whole point of even our podcast. But like, we can't complain as Zimbabweans. There's nothing there for us. Then do it, you know, like you can't. And I think a lot of times we sit back and we go, oh, no one's doing anything. But then it's like, well, then we have to be the ones to do. We have to be the ones
to step up to
envelope.
the plate.
So
100%.
we completely agree with you.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think you spoke of something which is, you know, about you. There's a sacrifice to this thing, right? Like, you're gonna have to invest. Bet on yourself. I think that's Rock Nation's line or something like that. Sorry, that's completely left. But bet on yourself. Like, we need to bet on ourselves as a people. And I think this is a perfect segue to how do we support the industry ourselves as Zimbabweans? Because honestly, we cannot expect the world to be like, yo, we are behind you. Like, we love what you're doing. If we don't believe in ourselves, support us industries. And it's not always easy. Obviously, we understand there are many, many things, but how can we support the Zimbabwean film industry financially or otherwise? How do we see that happening? Because I think we need to foster that kind of energy.
And not everyone's an actor, but we want to help.
Yeah, look, and honestly, I enjoy the fact that not everyone's an actor, and I think we need to embrace that as a culture, and realize that not everyone is an actor, not everyone is a director, not everyone is a politician, not everyone is a banker, not everyone is a hustler, you know. But we need everyone to play their part so that the whole thing comes together, the whole orchestra, the whole symphony comes together. So I'm studying and I'm doing an MBA right now in entrepreneurship, and that's it was a little bit of a. It really blew my mind, and it's made me look at a lot of things differently. I also started a business about 2 years ago, and that's what's keeping the lights on. So all these things have made me realize that business is a completely different animal. You know what I mean? It's its own thing, and you know, we need to accept that. So what I'll say is that how we need to support the industry is money. The biggest myth that I was told, and that young children are told, is that you don't need money. All you need is a good idea. That's nonsense. There's no such. It's absolute hogwash, and I want to debunk that right away. People say that, you know, you create wealth. That's also nonsense. You can't create wealth. All you're doing is using the money that's there and using it to make more money.
Yeah.
So when I say that, what we need to do is we need to throw figures. We need to throw proper investment into the industry. What I mean is that, look, if you invest, you can't expect to make $1 million from a movie if you've only invested $2,000.
Yes.
It just doesn't make sense. It's just, you know what I mean? You can't say to me, I want to support the arts, and all you've done is you paid me $5, you bought me one DVD. Or you're saying, no, I want to sponsor your film, Munya, but what I'll do is I'll sponsor the catering, you know? And it's like, no, the budget is 200,000 and you're giving me $1,000. Thank you, but we'll never get there unless we throw some serious money at it. You know, in the developed world, I mean, places like the States, these guys throw millions of dollars at projects. And it's not because they know that the millions are going to come back. It doesn't always come back from that one project. But you know, if you do it 2 or 3 times, the fourth one will make you $1 billion. Do you know what I mean? And that's the kind of way we need to think. We need to think that, okay, it's bigger than just, okay, I need 10,000 to make my little film. Rather give me 10 million to make 100 films over the next 10 years.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Something like what Korea did. You know, the South Korean film industry, that's a brilliant model to look at. You know, the government just woke up and said one day that, look, you know what? We're going to invest in these guys. You know, we're going to make sure that this industry grows. And they threw millions at it. And they said, look, it's not going to happen now. But 10 years from now, it will.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you spit bars. You spat the bars. What shall we? Since, am I allowed to say that? But what shall we do?
Don't know.
For me, I think it's the idea of coming together, because what you're saying is then be like, I want to invest in your film. I want to support. I want to, but I feel like we have a mindset a little bit of like, you're on your own, or like, it's working out for me. Good luck to you. You know, all the best with that, if that makes sense. So yeah, there's a community aspect of it all. That needs
definitely. So you know what? We've actually set up. We want to set up a film fund. Well, not a film fund. Yeah, it's a film fund, but you know, we want to do it properly. Where we want to set up like it's actually going to be like a financial. It's actually going to be like a financial institution where we raise money from the public. But the model is slightly different. We'll raise money based on the films that people want to see. So if Amanda says, look, I want to see a film about Pidals, and I want to see a film about, you know, how Pidals survived the liberation struggle, she would put in a $10,000, and then we'd try and find another 10 grand from other people who are like-minded. But that money goes into a fund, almost like a pension fund, where the funds themselves are managed so that they never run out. They never, you know. So it's you know, when thinking beyond just one movie, you know, you're thinking 10 movies. You're thinking building studios. You're thinking of training and building training facilities. So we need to think a lot bigger than just the next project. You know.
Yeah. No, we completely agree with you, and we're completely for it. Like, so definitely keep us in the loop, because when we say these things, a lot of people do want to do it, but then they don't know how. So I think if we bridge that gap of, okay, I'm here, I'm ready, and then how, then it's like, it can actually move forward. I think a lot of people think, okay, but where do I even start if I want to support? So what you're talking about would be groundbreaking. I really think a lot of Zimbabweans you'd be probably surprised how people would show up, because I think we're all ready. We just don't know how.
Yes. Thank you so much. And I think just to wrap up, you know, you've dropped a lot of bars on us here. We were never ready to have, like, never ready for this. If you can share with us, you know, I love that you shared a very practical and real way, and we would love to see it come into fruition, you know, a body coming together. But on a personal level, we'd love to hear about any upcoming projects you're doing. He's just told us you're studying for an MBA. So, I mean, already, so that's a lot. So any current or upcoming projects that you'd want to share with us, or something we can look forward to, and where we can keep in touch with you so that we are aware, you know, when these projects, these funds, when things happen, how do we stay in touch and keep in the loop? So, you know, it's not a matter of not knowing.
Okay. Well, look, so personally, I'm partial to Instagram. So I'm on Instagram, you know, at Munya C. People can follow me and, you know, give me a shout. I usually update everything on there.
Yes.
Currently, I run a water logistics company called Blue Hippo Water, which is also on Instagram. Yeah, look, so it was weird. I discovered that I love water. I used to do rowing at high school, and I was always close to water. Might have something to do with my children, but yeah. So there's that. So yeah, people can follow me on Instagram at Munya C or Blue Hippo Water. And yeah, right now what I'm working on is that fund in terms of the arts.
Yes.
And just trying to make sure that I finish school and I get an MBA and I don't, here's that word again. I don't makisa myself. I don't embarrass myself. I don't embarrass myself. Yeah, that's what's keeping me busy at the moment. But I'll definitely let you know about the fund and how that's developing, because we'll definitely need your help, because you see, you're part of the value chain. You guys have got your own unique skills that you can bring to it. You're already creating content, which means you already have a voice, you already have a following, and you speak good English. You know what I mean? Which is good.
Thank you.
We're there.
Why are you like this? No, thank you. No, thank you. And absolutely, like, I think bridging the gap, that's a very beautiful way for you to talk about our platform, the podcast, which is essentially what it tries to do, bridge the gap between us as Zimbabweans at home, Zimbabweans in the diaspora, and also Zimbabweans to other nations of the world, because it's not just Zimbabweans who are listening. So yeah, thank you so much, Munya, for your time. It's really been insightful, and to see you working, to make real change in our industry, because, we can laugh all we want, but the likes of Nollywood happened because there were those systems, there was that support, there was that. And if we want to be taken seriously, we need to take ourselves
the capital
seriously. Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank you, Rumbi. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you guys so much for having me and inviting me.
It's a pleasure.
And having faith in me. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Wow, what an episode. What gems. My mind is like
dropping them. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, he was talking buzz. I mean, sometimes you just had to take it all in. Like, I feel like that's one episode we need to go back to again and again to really dissect and get into the nitty-gritties of how we can do this, how Zimbabweans can raise our platform. I mean, this for us was our love letter to the arts in Zimbabwe. Rimbi spoke about how she, had personal experiences of also, thinking as a creative, how to navigate this world, but you live in a traditionalist system. So we really want to offer some insight to our listeners, not only from curiosity, but also perhaps you can get some advice on how you could also do it, or how it's currently being done, and also how you can support. I've got a few friends who are like, I'm not creative, and that's a-okay. And as Munya kept saying, everyone is needed. Everyone has their role to play. So there you go. The information is out there. We'll be keeping you guys in the loop. And as always, we'll put all the links for you in the description. And obviously any updates, we'll be keeping you guys informed. So stay tuned, because this space is going to grow. Don't you think, Rumbi?
I think so, 100%. And I think for me, the biggest thing is, like, we've got to be our own community. We've got to, back each other up. And, one of the gems also that he dropped was like, sometimes it's not for you. You are just the vessel. The vessel. So I feel like this podcast is not for us. We are just, I'm joking. It's definitely for us.
We're just a vessel. Yeah, I know. I'm like, so I can catch up with you.
Exactly. No, I'm joking. But no, honestly, like, Amanda, I think, what would you say were the highlights of the season for you, or what do you think people were really like chewing on from the episode?
Sometimes it's funny because obviously we share this content, and then when you start discussing with people, you see how the layers are really there, because people take it elsewhere even. So we appreciate all the comments, all the feedback, all the little thoughts and nitty-gritties people are getting into. But for me, I think classism was like, especially people who are not in Zimbabwe, it was like
eye-opening.
Say what now? Like, I think they were just thinking, Yeah.
They never understood how layered it was, especially people who aren't Zimbabwean at all. It was just kind of like, wait, what? Like, is that real? And I'm like, yup. For sure.
What other episodes, or do you think we were connected?
I think we really also, people connected with the grief and heartbreak episode in a really big way. I think, as we said, it's just not spoken about. And, you know, I feel like we often talk about the wins, the good things, you know, but like the things that really keep us up at night, we don't really go there. And thank you so much to the people who shared some of their own stories or felt like they really connected to it, and the struggle of navigating grief within a Zimbabwean context. Truly appreciate your time, your thoughts, your just everything. It really means the world to us.
We were sending virtual hugs to all of you, because sometimes, you can be close friends with someone and they don't know that part of you. So for us to be an avenue for you to express yourself, we are here for it, and keep it coming. Just because the season is ending doesn't mean we don't want to hear from you.
Absolutely.
Diaspora had a lot of funny stories coming through. We want to hear, please. Sometimes humor is the only way to get through a lot of these things.
100%.
So keep sharing, keep telling us all about it. Wow, Rimbi. Season 2.
I can't believe it. We did it. We did it, Joe. We did it.
We did it, Joe. Wow. It's insane. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, Rumbi. Doing this with you is absolutely amazing.
Oh, for sure.
It's so easy. It's kind of weird for me, because I feel like I'm sharing my friendship with you, with the world. Because I'm like, these are the things we normally talk about. Like sometimes we're talking like, this is its layered episode. Like, what do we, you know? Because it's
all the time.
Before we never used to think like that, but now that we have a podcast, we're like, this is its layered episode. But like
in itself, for sure.
I really value our friendship and cannot do this thing called life without you. Mwah.
Right back at you. Like, it's the most beautiful gift to have, especially when, you know, we haven't seen each other in what feels like too long. And such a treat to spend this time with you. Before we fully sign off, who is our shout out for our very last episode of It's Layered?
The Diddy Bob. The Diddy Bob.
Hey.
All the sound effects coming from Ruby. Drum roll, Rumbi, drum roll. So our beautiful shout out for this last episode of season 2 is Black African Woman. Rumbi likes to call it BOR, and I think you guys do refer it to as BOR. So this is a platform for women to be seen, be inspired, be heard, and they're pushing so much amazing content out. It's just like, you guys need to check them out, mainly on YouTube. Obviously, they have an Instagram page as well, which we'll link. Rumbi is part of the beautiful team. So I got to give you your kudos.
Thank you.
I can't believe you're doing this, and and Rumbi, you're just like doing everything.
Yeah, girl. And, I need to take a seat, Minnie. Thank you for the beautiful stuff.
Yeah, and you might have something special cooking up soon, guys. So
stay tuned.
Definitely stay tuned. And I love these ladies. They're doing something that's so needed, so necessary. And they started doing it before it was cool. So some people think, all these things came out of Black Lives Matter. These honeys were working it. They were presenting for us way before. So kudos to you ladies, Black African women. Make sure to check them out.
Thank you so much for the love and support. And for me, Amanda, you are such a gem. This is honestly something I look forward to, I love to do. And also that we're able to bridge, you know, the gap of our friendship, and also actually being serious, you know, because we could get on here and just be stupid.
Yeah, I know.
So,
Masal gave us a shout out on the finance episode. So we did a good job.
Yeah. At least we tried.
Making money talk sense. We were doing it.
Yeah, we can talk sense sometimes. So honestly, it's such a treat. Just because the season has come to an end, please don't stop listening. Replay season 1, all the episodes, season 2, come back. Please rate and review us on whatever platform you listen, Apple Podcasts, Like us, we're on YouTube for those who don't know. Like, seriously, like, we would really appreciate.
We're everywhere.
Share it with your friends, family, cousin, aunt, sister, whoever, you know,
yes,
because we love to see the love. Thank you so much for the love, and we look forward to seeing y'all soon. Take care of yourselves, everybody.
Take care, guys. Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Careful of those island boys. Little girl, use your head.